You don't realize it at first, but the reason this feels uncomfortable is because your mind is standing at a crossroads it has avoided for years. One path leads back to familiarity, the habits, reactions, excuses, and identities that once kept you safe but now quietly keep you small. The other path leads forward, not to certainty, not to instant relief, but to responsibility. And your brain resists that path with everything it has. It tells you to wait, to calm down, to not overthink, to distract yourself, to scroll, to sleep, to delay. It frames growth as danger and stagnation as safety. That's why every time you're about to level up, life feels heavier instead of lighter. You're not breaking down, you're being stretched. And stretching always feels like resistance before it feels like strength. Most people misinterpret this moment. They think something is wrong with them. They think they're losing motivation, losing passion, losing direction. In reality, they're losing alignment with an old version of themselves that can no longer carry the weight of who they're becoming. The mind panics because it senses a loss of control. The ego tightens because it knows its rules are about to expire. That inner tension you feel isn't chaos, it's negotiation. A negotiation between who you've been and who you're being asked to become. And here's where it gets critical. If you numb this moment, you delay your transformation. If you rush to feel normal again, you return to patterns that already failed you. Growth doesn't announce itself with clarity, it announces itself with friction. You start questioning your relationships, your routines, your goals. Things that once excited you feel hollow. Things you ignored suddenly feel loud. That's not confusion, that's awareness waking up. And awareness is dangerous to old habits. Your reactions start slowing down. You notice yourself pausing where you used to explode, observing where you used to escape. That pause isn't weakness, it's the space where power is rebuilt. But power without identity feels scary, because for a while, you don't know who you are without your old responses. You're no longer the person who reacts instantly, but you're not yet the person who responds with certainty. You're in between. And the in-between is where most people quit. They mistake the silence for emptiness, the uncertainty for failure. But this phase isn't asking you to be confident. It's asking you to be honest. Honest about what drains you. Honest about what no longer fits. Honest about the ways you've been betraying your own growth just to stay accepted, comfortable, or familiar. Transformation doesn't demand perfection. It demands courage to sit in discomfort without running back to what feels safe. And the truth is, the version of you that survives this phase will not think the same, react the same, or settle the same. You will start choosing depth over noise, alignment over approval, direction over distraction. But only if you allow this tension to do its work. Because the moment you truly understand this, not emotionally but consciously, something shifts. You stop asking why things feel hard and start asking what this moment is trying to build inside you. And once that question lands, there's no going back. The discomfort doesn't disappear, but it stops controlling you. It becomes information instead of fear. And that's when the real transformation begins, quietly, internally, and without permission from the past. Here is where most people misunderstand themselves. They believe they lack discipline. They believe they lack confidence. They believe they lack consistency. They are wrong. What they lack is permission to let an old identity die. Your ego is not your enemy. It is your bodyguard. Its job is to protect who you believe you are, even when that version of you is outdated, even when that version of you is limiting, even when that version of you is slowly suffocating your potential. Every time you feel resistance before taking action, that is not laziness. That is identity defense. Your brain asks one question before every decision. If I do this, who do I become? And if the answer threatens the current self-image, resistance appears. If growth means being seen failing, the ego resists. If growth means being judged, the ego resists. If growth means outgrowing familiar people, the ego resists. So instead of acting, you analyze. Instead of committing, you prepare. Instead of risking, you rationalize. You call it patience. You call it planning. You call it being smart. But underneath it all is fear of becoming unfamiliar to yourself. This is why transformation feels lonely. Because the moment you start changing, your old identity fights back. It reminds you who you used to be. It reminds you of past failures. It reminds you of the safety of staying the same. And most people listen. They return to routines that feel productive but produce nothing. They return to goals that sound impressive but require no sacrifice. They return to comfort disguised as wisdom. But a few people don't. A few people notice the resistance and understand what it means. They understand that discomfort is not a warning sign. It is a direction. They understand that clarity comes after commitment, not before it. They understand that confidence is built through action, not thought. They stop waiting to feel ready. They stop asking for permission. They stop negotiating with fear. And that is when identity begins to shift. Quietly, gradually, irreversibly. Transformation does not announce itself. There is no dramatic moment, no background music, no applause. It begins why? A decision no one else sees. A decision to stop lying to yourself. A decision to stop blaming circumstances. A decision to accept responsibility without resentment. Responsibility is not punishment. Responsibility is power. The moment you accept that your life reflects your patterns, not your potential, everything changes. You stop asking why life is hard. You start asking what life is teaching. You stop waiting for motivation. You start building structure. You stop chasing intensity. You start practicing consistency. And here is the part most people avoid hearing. Growth requires loss. You will lose versions of yourself you once depended on. You will lose relationships that only functioned at your old level. You will lose the comfort of familiar excuses. But what you gain is alignment, clarity, self-respect. You gain the ability to trust yourself again, and once that happens, momentum follows. This channel is not about hype. It is not about shortcuts. It is not about borrowed confidence. It is about truth, spoken calmly, clearly, and without apology. If something in this message challenged you, that is not an accident. It means you are standing at the edge of change. The next video goes deeper. It addresses the one version of you that must be released for real growth to begin. If you are ready to stop surviving and start becoming, stay with us. Subscribe, stay present, and walk this journey with intention. Because the life you want is not waiting for you to feel ready. It is waiting for you to decide.